So you could sit in Sukhasana, Virasana, go to your back if you're feeling depleted this morning. Just check in. How is it now? And especially if you're sitting, really locate your hips, your whole pelvis, your hips. Let your bones be heavy against the earth. Sit with a tall spine. And if it's comfortable, you can close your eyes down or take your gaze towards the floor. We'll just begin with a little pratyahara, so the withdrawal of senses. So bringing your awareness inward, away from the outer sensibilities. Settling into your practice. Just let your hands rest lightly in your lap or on your thighs. And with each inhale, a lifting. With each exhale, a settling. Take 4 more rounds of breath. And then you can lift your gaze, blink your eyes open, little twist side to side. We'll meet on our backs, on our mats. And have your blocks and strap with you. And let's just begin with the soles of the feet on the floor, as if you're going to press up into bridge. We'll do a few cascading bridge movements. So as you press into your feet, sweep your arms behind your head. Feel a little bit of work in your hips, but don't overdo it. Just see how your spine feels this morning as you press up. Reach the arms behind, and as you come back down, land hips and hands relatively at the same time. Give your back a little massage that we've all just probably come out of bed fairly recently. And then as you continue pressing into your feet and lifting, really draw your outer hips inward. So will be the big glute muscles, right, contracting. So draw outer hips in towards inner, towards the midline. Really feel that work. And then the next time you come to the ground, let's just wait for one another here. And then lift the toes so that your heels are spiking into the floor. Press into your heels and lift again. Do the same action. And now you hopefully feel the hamstrings also coming on board. You can reach behind and the attachment of hamstring to glute there at the top of your hamstring. Feel that firmness and then lower back down. So now we've got hips and hamstrings working together. Continue to draw the outer hips in. Keep the toes lifted. Let's go about 4 more rounds here. Inhale, presses you up. Exhale, unfurl. And then this last time, just go ahead, take both legs long, let your feet fall out to the side. Take a couple of breaths in the Shavasana shape. And then coming back, put a little action in your legs by pulling your toes towards your shins. So resting, legs are long, and then just press into one side of your buttocks and lift the other. It might not even come off the floor, but it's like you're shearing one hip point up towards the ceiling. So pressing, releasing, then the other side. So shearing right hip point up, left hip point up. So you're really collecting, contracting in the buttocks as you shear one side of the hip up, one hip up, the other hip up. And then release that work. Draw your knees into your chest. A little rock back and forth. Maybe circling the knees, just into your low back. You'll need your belt next, your strap. You take your strap around your right foot and extend your right leg up towards the ceiling. Left foot can be on the floor or the leg could be long. And then just bend and extend through your knee and your hip. And then take your right leg out to the right, but make sure that your left sit bone stays attached. Your left hip is down to the floor. So any amount is fine. You might have your elbow bent, resting your elbow on the floor. And then from here, just let your leg sort of pull. So you kind of release your hand on the strap, let it slide through your hand, and then take some big circles with your legs straight. So moving in the hip joint of the right leg. Feels a little bit like being a cowgirl. A little rope work here. Take it in the opposite direction. your hand is somewhat, your arm movement is somewhat involved and supportive here. Okay, then bring your right leg up towards the ceiling. Just come across into a twist. So take the belt in your left hand and come into a twist here. And then inhale the right leg up towards the ceiling, both feet in the strap. In Supta Dandasana, pull your low back away from the floor. Press feet into the strap. Feel a little opening, hopefully in the hamstrings. So low back away from the floor, so pelvis is tilted forward. And then slip your right foot out, left leg in the strap, just a few times in and out. Flexion and extension. Good. And then left leg out to the left. Keep your right hip really solidly on the floor. So as far as you can go so that you're not picking the right hip off the floor. And you'll let the strap slide through your hands a bit as you start to make some big circles with the left leg. And take this in both directions. Just feeling into your left hip. And back to center. Inhale that left leg up towards the ceiling and then over into a twist. So bring the left leg across midline to the right. Next inhale, bring your left leg back up towards the ceiling. Place both feet in the strap. Come back to the Supta Dandasana. Pressing feet into strap. Draw your low back away from the floor. And pull against the strap. Press your feet into the strap. Feel some opening behind your knees and your hamstrings. Two more breaths here. And then release. Take the soles of your feet to the floor and bring your hands right inside your hip pointers. So really press really hard right inside the hip pointers there. That's the deep iliopsoas muscle area. And then just pay attention here. Pick up your right foot and set it back down. Pick up your left foot and set it back down. Just feel that action there in the deep belly muscles, the deep postural muscles. So picking up one foot and then the other. Good. And then straighten your legs. Feel that muscle. And then bend through the right knee and bring the right foot to the floor. Bend through the left knee and bring your left foot to the floor. Just what I'm wanting you to feel for is as you work one side, is that side in any way gathering or using the other side to do the work. So as you pick up your right foot and lengthen it, set it down, left foot on the floor, right foot is long now, then pick up your right foot, take the sole of your foot to the floor, then extend the right leg out again, then bend the right leg, set the sole of your foot to the floor. Is the left side of your body compensating anyway? Then try the left side. So straighten the left leg long, then bend the left knee, put the left sole of your left foot on the floor. Really pressing into those muscles to feel if one side has to compensate for the other. Just getting a sense of if there's an evenness in the work in your hips and your deep psoas muscles, deep stabilizing muscles. Good. Then you can release that. Let your hands come to the sides of your body, palms up, and just a few, take your feet really wide and just a few windshield wipers to sort of as a little counter to that work we just did. Okay. And then we're going to roll onto our bellies. And then from here, you'll sort of press up into Sphinx. Bring your knees out to the side. It might be a little tricky if you don't have a blanket or a carpet. You might have to turn on your mat the other way like I am. So your knees are out to the side. We call this the frog pose. And your arms are sort of in front in the shape of Sphinx. So are parallel to one another, forearms parallel to one another. And really, if you have carpet, this is really easier on carpet because you can let your knees slide out to the side. But see if you can take your hips back in your mouth. Great. And then from here, come to lying on your belly. Slide yourself back, lying on your belly. Good. You can make a little pillow, resting your head on the pillow. And I'm just going to lift my head so I can talk to you. So bend through your knees so that your lower legs are perpendicular to the floor and parallel to one another. With your forehead resting on that pillow, just pick your right knee off the floor, like you're going to step on the ceiling. Keep your right hip pointer pressing into the floor, and then release the right knee back down. Pick your left knee off the floor, like you're going to step on the ceiling with your left foot. Keep your left hip pointer pressing into the floor, and then release back down. Now you should feel this in both your hamstring and your glutes. So you go back and forth, but keep hip pointers connected to the floor as you lift and press. One, it's like you're pressing your foot up onto the ceiling, so the thigh lifts away from the floor, and the hip pointer stays connected to the floor. And just go back and forth a few times here. Working the hamstrings. (108) repetitions. And then release both knees still bent, and just let your feet fall back and forth in windshield wiper action. Releasing any tension in your low back. And take your legs long. Take your legs long so you're resting on your little hand pillow, forehead on the hand pillow. Turn your big toes in towards the floor, so there's a pressing your big toes into the floor and lifting your kneecaps away from the floor. And bring your hands underneath your shoulders, forehead to the floor. Press all 10 toes into the floor. Draw your navel away from the floor. Pubic bone into the floor, navel away, right? And keep the back of your neck long and just lift about 2 inches off the floor. Head and shoulders. Tops of the feet press into the floor. Navel's lifted away from the floor. Pubic bone into the floor. Release back down. And again. See if you can pull your navel up away from the floor. Great. And then from here, you're going to roll onto one side, resting on your outstretched arm. Your top hand can be in front of you for balance. Then lift your top leg and bring it back behind your body, back to center and forward. And just repeat that little pattern. So you have the leg lifted maybe 4 inches away from the bottom leg. You're just moving forward and backward, sort of a swinging action. Lift a little higher. And try the same thing. Keep your toes pulling back towards your shins. And then bend through that top knee and set that foot behind your body. And then set your foot into Vrksasana. Tree pose. Contracting the top leg. You really want to feel your glutes working here. Release. Come back to the sideline position and then roll or twist or turn and come on to the other side. Resting your head on your outstretched bottom arm. Top arm can be out in front of you for balance. Lift your top leg. Bring it behind your body, in front of your body. See if you can make the work happen in your hips. Of course, there'll be a little work in the back. Lift a little higher, try the same thing. Just moving forward and backward. Toes are pulled back towards your shins. Then bend through your top leg, set your sole of your foot to the floor behind you. And then right in the center of your bottom leg, Vrksasana. Release, stacking both legs, roll back to your belly. Bring your hands to your low ribs, turn your toes under, press up through table or straight on up to downward facing dog. And then walk your feet forward to your hands, bending through your knees as much as you need to. Press yourself up to standing. Great. From here now, let's take the left foot forward and the right foot back in a lunge. So like a high lunge or crescent lunge, so back heel is lifted and the front leg is bent, hands to waist. So we're going to move back and forth. We're going to step forward to standing and then step back into the lunge and then forward to standing. Bring the back foot forward to standing and back into the lunge. Okay, so back and forth. Feel the work of the hip. So we're going the same side. Good. And then Once we're back into Tadasana this last time, let's step the opposite foot back. Toe, heel is lifted, so we're in the crescent lunge. Step forward, feet together, and back. Step forward, feet together, back to the lunge. If you get a little wobbly, you can put your hands out as like rudders. You could also, yeah, I kind of like my hands on the hips here. And next time we come together, Tadasana, pause there. Great, now standing into Tadasana, bend through your left knee. Bring your knees to be lined up together. So your bent knee, you don't want it forward of the standing leg, you want it right lined up. Then bring your heel as close to your buttocks as possible. If you need to find some place to help with your balance, you can. We're doing this not for balance, but for the hamstrings. And then draw your knee back into your back body and back to the original starting position. So keep that bent knee lined up with a straight leg knee, not forward of it. And then just do as many repetitions as feel appropriate for you. If you fall out, that's okay. Try to keep the bent knee from coming forward of the standing knee. Heel back in towards the buttocks as far as possible as you swing that leg back. Standing leg is probably starting to fatigue. So release both feet to the floor and just circle through your hips. Both directions, get a little relief. Shake out your legs. Try the other side. So you're gonna bend through opposite leg. Bring your heel towards your buttocks as much as possible. And then draw your knee back in space and come back. And if it's a balance issue, just find some place to put your hands as you repeat this on this side. So working the hamstring. After you've done a few vinyasas, you could try holding, bringing the heel of your bent leg as close to your buttocks as possible. Really feel you're working your hamstring. And then release. Move through your hips. Shake out your legs. And then get your blocks. So there's several options here. You can do all this with one block, or you could start with one block and move to 2 blocks. Okay, let's see. I think my orientation would be best this way. So what we're going to do is take one foot to the 1 or 2 blocks, and then we're just going to step up and steady our feet, and then step back down, and then step up, pull the standing leg, pull that hip in as you move back and forth, up and down on your blocks, or block, or yeah, I don't think it will work without a block. So you could be 1 or 2 blocks. As you step up, be very intentional about pulling the standing leg, pulling that glute in, and then stepping back, and then coming up again. So it's pretty similar to what we did in the lunge. And then the next time you're standing, have the free leg lined up, so you're hovering your feet beside one another, and then take that foot forward to the side, back behind you, across behind you, back to the starting position, forward, to the side, behind you, across your body. Play around with 1 or 2 blocks here. Let's do the same leg. So the stability of our hips is what helps us balance in these postures, in these shapes, in these forms. So forward, to the side, behind, across, and back. Good. And release, shake out your legs, walk around your space. And then try the other side. 1 or 2 blocks. And just begin with stepping up to the block and stepping back. Weighting the back foot, stepping up to the block and back. Stepping up and stepping back. And then at some point, we're going to hover the free leg, bring it forward, out to the side, behind, and across the body. Back to the starting position. Forward, to the side, behind, back behind the body. Whew. Back to the starting position. Forward, to the side, behind, across behind. Good. And step down, shake out your legs, move around your space. Good. And then come to set up in along the long edge of your mat for, keep your blocks handy. We'll go to Trikonasana. So turn the right foot out and line up the edge of your front foot with the long edge of your mat. Turn your back heel out. Okay, and before we start to move into this Trikonasana, because we're going to kind of go slow, really feel that you're pulling the front buttocks underneath. So there's an external rotation in the front leg, and you're really sucking that buttocks in and under. And then you can just begin to gently slide back and forth, up and down your leg. We're not going to use the blocks just yet, but come into a place where you can hold, keeping your upper body turned towards me, and keep drawing the front leg, the buttocks in and under. Press your hand into your shin into your hand. Opposite hand to your waist. Really draw it under, draw that buttocks under, really externally rotate the front leg, then stack the arms. How is it now? And then from here, bend through the front knee. Just allow yourself to come forward onto the front leg, so your hand on your front leg, and stretch through there. Press up, turn your feet in the opposite direction. So turning the front foot so that it lines up, outer foot lines up with the long edge of your mat. Turn the back heel out, then straighten through the front leg. Take your time to get your feet set. Straighten through the front leg, and just a little bit of up and down motion just to Get us warmed up into the pose. And then either hand to the thigh or to the shin. Really feel the front buttocks is moving underneath the body. So there's this really big external rotation of the front leg. Top hand is on your hip. Keeping the chest open, spin your chest open. And then stack the top arm. Be strong here. As in, the legs are really working. Front and back leg both working equally hard. And then you bend through the front legs, sweep up, come into a little bit of a, almost like an extended side angle, or just, you could bring your forearm all the way to your thigh. I just have my hand in the front knee, and I'm just sort of stretching that out, press up. We'll go back to the first side, but you'll need your block now because we're going to come into Ardha Chandrasana. So starting in the triangle, set yourself up so you have room, because as we move forward, we'll be taking the block with us to the outside of the front foot and about 6 to 8 inches in front of it. So set yourself up so that when we move, you have good space. Okay, so we're in the triangle posture shape, really sucking this back, the front leg, sucking that buttocks underneath. We're gonna bend through the front knee and start to bring the back leg, block is in my right hand, same hand as whatever foot I have forward. If you have your right foot forward, that works for the language, and then blocking your right hand. So as you start to lean forward, drag your left foot forward slightly, and then you're gonna place the block down, fingertips or hand to the block, and as you straighten through the front leg and suck that buttocks under, you lift the back leg. You can begin by looking down at the floor. Really keep the standing leg, the glute muscle really is engaged. It's the same thing we've been doing, so just pull in and underneath, and then gradually you can begin to turn your chest. Turn, open. Back leg and or top leg and bottom leg have the same action. So you're pulling the glute in, you're really strong in the glute muscles, and then you can stack top arm. So top leg, toes back towards shins. Now to come out, we're going to bend through the front leg, turn our gaze, turn our shoulders, turn our hips. We can bring the back foot back to the floor, grab the block, turn, and come up to standing. We'll try the other side. So shake it out if you need to shake it out. And then turn, set up Trikonasana in the other direction. Again, have your space set up so that as you come into this, you've got a good place for your block. So as you bend through the front knee now, you start to come forward, bring the back foot forward, set your block down. And it's the same thing. As we stand, as we straighten the front leg, the back leg lifts. We're working together. Squeeze buttocks in and under. Squeeze the top leg buttocks. Toes pull towards shins. Gradually, you can work to open your chest. Standing leg is strong. The action in the standing leg and the lifted leg are the same. Top arm stacks over bottom arm. Bend through the front leg, standing leg. Set the back foot down, turn gaze, turn shoulders, turn hips. Press yourself up. Shake your legs out. Walk around your space. And then take your blocks to the front of your space on their highest setting. So now we'll look at the Virabhadrasana 3, the Warrior 3. Same thing, we're going to be working in with the hips and that movement of really pulling the outer hip in. Okay, so let's take, let's see, just there. Let's take the right foot forward and left foot back and come into a high lunge. So front foot, front leg, knee bent, and the back leg, toes or heels lifted over toes, hamstring lifted. Good. Then you'll fold forward or reach forward for your blocks. Let's actually just do a couple of repeats of this. So then come back up to hands on hips and then gently fold forward. So lean forward a little bit and then back up to standing. You're going to really feel this in the front outer hip, in the glutes. Just fold forward slightly. Come back to upright. Lean forward slightly, just enough to really feel that in your hip. Back up to standing. And then this time, bring hands all the way to the blocks. Press, lean forward, pitch forward, press the back leg up as you straighten the front leg. So Virabhadrasana 3 with the support of the blocks. You might have to reposition your blocks. Good. Really, 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 really strong standing leg. And the action in the lifted leg is the same as the standing leg. Now from here, just bend through that front leg and bring your lifted leg behind so that your pinkies are sort of lined up. Any amount of bend in your legs and a fold here. Any amount of bend in your legs. And then unravel back to feet parallel to one another. Now step the right foot back. Come back into that crescent lunge. We'll start with a few repeats, so hands on hips. And then just hinging forward and coming back to upright. Keep the back heel lifted. Hinging forward and back to upright. Hinging forward. You're going to start to feel this in your left outer hip. Hinging forward. And back to upright. I don't know, did we do about 50 on the other side? Maybe? All right, next one. It's hard to be funny without an audience, I have to just say. So now bring your hands all the way to the blocks. And as you pitch yourself forward and straighten the standing leg, straighten and lift at the same time. So as you straighten the standing leg, you lift the back leg. If you want to try that a couple times, it's the action together. You might have to creep your blocks forward a bit. Squeezing hips in. Squeeze the outer hips in. Both legs. Then take a slight bend in the front leg and take your lifted leg behind so that your legs are crossed and your pinkies are facing one another. And any amount of bend in your legs, take a fold. Now from here, unravel. And take one of your blocks, set it in such a way that you can drop into a squat and set right on your block. Okay, so any height is fine. And then bring your legs, lower legs to the floor, so you're in a Virasana. Adjust your block as you need to. And then walk your hands behind you. So kind of a Supta Virasana, stretching the front of the legs. Walking hands back up. I'm just going to readjust mine to the flattest setting. Bringing ankles then into the block. And we'll take a twist in one direction. Twist in the opposite direction. And then unfurl my legs so that I'm in the Dandasana on the block. So pull your toes back towards your shins. There's a slight tilting of the pelvis forward, anterior tilt. Sit up nice and tall. And just fold here as per your capacity, pressing heels into the floor. Getting a little opening, hopefully, in the hamstrings. And then backing off, taking the soles of your feet to the floor so that you can take the block out into seated. And you might support yourself with a blanket here. Let's take the cross-legged position in any amount you can get, any way you can get your ankles sort of lined up under your knees versus your feet into your groin. See if you can kind of make a little bit more of a square shape with the legs, and that might mean supporting yourself by sitting up on the edge of the blanket. And a nice tall spine as you hinge forward. Any amount, now you'll feel a lengthening. So continue to draw the outer hips in towards midline as you lengthen. So there's some engagement. I feel a little bit of engagement even in my hamstrings. As I draw, I really concentrate on drawing outer hip in. Now set back up and switch the cross of my legs. And nice tall spine again as I hinge forward. Probably feel different on this side. From here, release onto your back. Release onto your back. We'll take the figure 4. So bringing one ankle to the opposite knee, and let's have the bottom leg, sole of your foot to the floor to begin with. Feel your low back against the floor. And just take a couple of pelvic tilts here in this position. Just slightly pushing the top knee away. Good. Now find neutral spine and then draw your knees in towards your chest. Can you keep a neutral spine and maybe a teeny bit of anterior tilt? Then string your hands through. Either take the back of your hamstring or the front of your shin. But see if you can keep the hips really pulling down towards the floor. And the leg that's bent now, that's resting on the opposite knee, can you keep that knee sort of pushing away? Now, I have my right leg bent with my right ankle on my left knee, and I'm going to take my knees to the left. If you have the opposite, take your knees to the right, just only about an inch or two, and I'm going to feel that little deeper stretch. And take 3 more breaths in the little deeper stretch. Again, I've got my right leg as the bent leg. Both my legs are bent, but right ankle on left knee. So I'm moving to the left. If you have left on right, move to the right. Okay, so unravel. Unravel, take soles of your feet back to the floor. Take a couple of pelvic tilts here. Any discomfort in your low back, just see if you can kind of marginalize that a little bit. And then left ankle on right knee, if you're with me on the same side. Start with your right foot on the floor and draw your low back away from the floor. Make a little bit of space below your back. And then draw your knees into your chest, but keep your spine long, keep your hips pulling down towards the floor so you're not balling yourself up. So a little teeny space underneath your low back. Then reach your hands through the space, your left hand through the space. You can take your right leg up towards the ceiling, foot up towards the ceiling here, or keep that leg bent. But now, can you lean your knees a little to the right? Take the whole business, take it over to the right. Keep that little space underneath your low back. Notice how your breath is. How is it now? How's the inner weather? Are you hot with irritation? Can you cool things down? Let your mind settle. And then unravel here. Take the soles of your feet to the floor. Couple of pelvic tilts. Couple of windshield wipers. And then we'll come into a twist. So I'm going to suggest the Gomukhasana legs, but if it's too much, since we're working the hips, it would be nice to get that big lengthening. But if it's too much, you can just stack your knees. So right leg over left. Squeeze the legs together. Squeeze the outer hips in. And then take your knees over to the right. And if it's too much, just slide the right leg underneath the left leg and just have the legs and knees stacked. Should feel a nice stretch in the left side psoas, as well as the outer hip of the left side. And then everybody slide right leg off. Stack knees momentarily. See if you can pull your low back a little bit closer to the floor. Then inhale, left leg up. Rock back and forth just a few times before you wrap left leg on top of right. And take knees to the left. Again, if it's too much, just slide the left leg off and stack your knees. We're all going to go there eventually. Right arm extended as much as possible over to the right. Gaze up at the ceiling. Squeezing the legs. Then slide the left leg free, stacking knees. See if you can draw your back a little closer to the floor. Then inhale, right leg up. Rock back and forth a few times with your knees over your hips like you're the dead bug look. Good. Anything else you need here before we come to Shavasana? Maybe a happy baby variation. But settle yourself very intentionally down into your Shavasana. Legs long, relaxed. Feel the earth supporting you as you let go of any effort. Notice if you're holding anywhere tension or effort, and see if you can release that effort. Soften your face and your eyes. Relax your jaw, leaving some space between your back molars. Soften your hands. And of course, you can stay here as long as you like, or you could roll to one side. Resting in the fetal position for a few breaths. Take your time. Join me in a seat when you're ready. And if you've come to your seat, take the Hands wide, spread your arms wide. And with your eyes closed, just gather the energy of love, abundance that we really do have available to us, bringing slowly your fingertips together in front of your heart. Bow your head towards your hands. May the merit of our practice encourage all beings to unveil the hidden brilliance that lies within. Namaste.